Morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. So yeah, we'll kick off with language interpretation. We have Stephanie here providing Spanish interpretation, so I'll let her go ahead and explain that piece. So go ahead, Stephanie.
Stephanie, we can't hear you.
Did you already enable interpretation, Amanda?
I must have with when I made her the interpreter. So I can stop it.
Okay.
Let me just I think they've changed the system.
No, it was all different.
Stephanie, I just ended the interpretation. Do you mind doing your intro now?
Yes. Hi, this is Stephanie. I'll be the Spanish interpreter. So whenever the language interpretation is on, you'll see a globe at the bottom of the page. You need to select your language in order to hear everything correctly. And if you're on a tablet or other device, you'll have to see it in the ... that says more. Make sure you select the language and hit done so that the language interpretation is available. Buenas, mi nombre es Stephanie, yo soy la intérprete. Abajo va a ver cuando está prendido la interpretación un globo y necesita seleccionar el idioma para poder escuchar bien en el idioma que usted seleccione. Si está en otro tipo de dispositivo, va a ver los puntitos abajo que tiene que seleccionar y poner finalizar y así va a tener activada la interpretación.
Awesome.
Okay. I went ahead and I enabled language interpretation. So go ahead and pick your language.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm excited for this meeting. This is kind of our first monthly meeting. And so the plan for today is to kind of
Buenas a todos. Esta es la primera reunión mensual.
And then open this up to a discussion about reflections from the first round of this grant. So we've learned a lot in this process. We want to share some of those thoughts with all of you, but we also want to hear from you about how things went, how we can make some tweaks and changes for round 2. But since we've got a kind of manageable group size, I thought maybe we could start out with a quick little icebreaker this morning. So if you could go around, say your name, which region you're providing outreach and TA for, and then your morning beverage of choice. So I'm Nikki, program manager here at CDA for the Community Food Access Program. And my morning beverage of choice is coffee with a little bit of chocolate milk. And we'll just jump around here. So I'll pass it over to Jay.
Okay, hi, Jay from the San Luis Valley, which is gigantic. I live north of Moffat in Saguache County, and my beverage of choice is yerba mate, lots of it, and that's what I'm doing. I'll pass it to Blaze.
Hey Jay, it's good to see you. My name is Blaze Stein. I am with Ogallala Commons, and we are in the southeastern portion of the state. And my my drink of choice is coffee. So I am, just like black, straight, every day. So, and I'm gonna pass it to Haley.
Hi, my name's Hallie. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm doing outreach in Jefferson County in the Denver metro region. My drink of choice this morning is this like tea chino vanilla tea. It's like made to taste like coffee, but I can't drink caffeine, so it's decaf or non-caffeinated, and tea that kind of tastes like coffee. I will pass it to Angeli.
Hi everyone, I'm Angeli Praser Tong. My pronouns are she, her, and I am also in the Jeffco Denver metro area. And my beverages of choice, I start off with coffee, just black coffee, and then later in the morning move on to what I'm drinking now, which is a smoked green tea called Hoji Cha from Japan. It's really yummy. And I will pass it on to Lucy.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Lucy y mis pronombres son femeninos.
Good
Ella.
morning. My name is Lucy and my pronouns are she, her, feminine. And my beverage of choice is coffee because it's fresh and it's my favorite beverage. And I'll pass it to Stephanie. This is the interpreter speaking. Oh, perdón.
Me llamo Esther Caldera y también mis pronombres son ella.
My pronouns are she, her. My name is Esther. My beverage of choice is coffee, but I have like 3 cups. And then I just drink like half. And I'll pass it to Cynthia. Hi, good morning. My name is Cynthia Hernandez. And my pronouns are she, her. And I do like drinking black coffee in the morning as well. And now around this time when it's like a little bit cold, I have that craving even more. I don't know who else is missing, and I apologize for not turning on my camera. I'm having issues with my internet.
Not a problem, Cynthia.
No.
Maybe we pass to Javier.
Hi, my name's Javier. My pronouns are he and él. I'm also in the Denver metro area. And mine's pretty boring, but it's water. Not a big coffee drinker, not a big morning person. So just water, plain water. I'll pass it to Whitney.
Hi, everybody. I'm Whitney Leeds. I use she, her, ella pronouns. I'm with Growing Home, also in the Denver metro area. And I drink English breakfast tea. I'll pass it to Susan.
Susan, I think maybe you hopped on late, but we're just saying our name, where we're representing, and our morning beverage of choice. Maybe Susan can't hear us. Why don't we do CDA team here? Adonai, you want to go?
¿Qué tal? Mi nombre es Adonai Cuevas y soy el
Hello,
especialista.
my name is Adonai Cuevas, and I am the specialist and the grant specialist for the Community Food Access Program. And my beverage is always coffee in the morning.
Amanda, ¿quieres seguir?
Amanda, do you want to go?
Sure, thanks, Adonai. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Amanda Laban. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Senior Programs Manager at the Department of Agriculture, overseeing Ag and Food Systems team programs, including, of course, this one. And my beverage of choice is espresso with some cayenne in it. Really gets me going. I know. Blaze is shaking his head. I love cayenne, and they make a special drink here in the town that I live in, and I go for it. Did we miss anybody else? Oh, Marion. Hi, Marion. Hand it over to you.
Thank you. My name is Marion Murphy, and my territory and my partner is Deolandra Perez, who is not able to be here today. But my territory is Boulder County and Broomfield County. And my drink of choice is Blue Lotus Chai, directly from India.
Did we get Erica?
Hey, Erica Way, Boulder, Broomfield County, she, her, Aya. drink of choice is iced coffee.
Cool. Okay, Susan, if you can hear us and you want to jump in, go for it. Did I miss anybody else? I think we got them all. Okay. Well, thanks for humoring me with that. It's fun to know what you guys like to drink in the morning. And yeah, we will get started with our agenda here. The agenda's in our shared folder with the rest of the meeting agendas, but I'll drop it here in the chat, and feel free to follow along here. I've got a few links on there. The Spanish version of the agenda is on the second page. So just want to start out by saying thank you for jumping right into this project. As you guys may have noticed, we've got Blaze here, who's with Ogallala Commons, representing the southeast corner of the state. So we're really grateful to all of you who just kind of, drank from the fire hose as we launched this program while training up contractors. We're going to be bringing on more contractors to represent more regions, and they'll be joining us at these monthly meetings. But yeah, round one was a huge success. We got a lot of information, and I think it'll help us make some changes for round two, which we hope will be a little bit more refined and even better now that we have a little bit of experience under our belts. So thanks to everybody on this call for being part of a successful launch of round one. I also want to thank everybody for supporting us as we submitted an application to continue funding for outreach and TA work, to continue working with all of you in future years. As you know, 1 year really is not enough to really make a big change. So we were really excited to see this opportunity that seemed like a good fit to continue this partnership that we have, because we'll still have technical assistance work even after all of the grant funding is expended, right? These grantees will be needing to submit receipts and their reports. So we'll still be needing support out there in the field. And we also have a tax credit program, which we would love some support in spreading the word about and supporting eligible businesses as they submit applications to receive tax credits. So thanks to everyone who worked hard to get the necessary paperwork in so we could submit that application that included each of you. So we should hear back about if our application was successful in February. So more news coming then. Just a couple reminders that our quarterly progress reports are due at the end of December. So please let me know if you've got questions about how to fill that out, how that needs to, any kind of detail you should be including. We're open to questions there. And we're also flexible with making that tool something that's workable, usable for each of you. We don't want this reporting to be overly cumbersome. We just want to have some documentation of the hard work you all have been doing. So those quarterly progress reports are due end of the year. We also welcome you all to submit receipts for reimbursement, and we are here and available to work through that process together as you submit those payroll receipts, time and effort, equipment, all the things that you've been spending money on as part of this contract, so that we can reimburse you and pay you for the time that you spent helping us out with this. So feel free to reach out if you have specific questions about how to invoice. We have the invoicing example packet in our shared drive. And then of course we have the the recording of the the meeting where we went over it, also linked in our shared drive. So feel free to take a look at that. Just a quick reminder as folks come on board, mandatory reading. Mandatory is a tough word, but we do feel it's really important that anybody out in the field helping us with outreach and technical assistance should have read the grant guidelines, which are linked on our website, and the amazing Corner Store outreach guide that Whitney created and presented in collaboration with a lot of other partners based on a lot of years of work and research. So please read those. You know, it's got a lot of the answers to questions in there. And yeah, as a bonus, reading all of the Q&A that's linked on our website is another great place to get answers to all your questions. I do plan on taking that Q&A sheet and making it a little bit more reader friendly by sorting by category so that it's a little bit easier to search now that I think there's over 60 questions on it. So yeah, that'll be coming for round 2. Yeah, any questions about anything I mentioned? Invoicing, reading, our application for continued support. Cool. All right. The next big thing I want to make you all aware of is we are having a formal tax credit rulemaking hearing. So as you all know, legislation was passed to add a tax credit component to the Community Food Access Program. So essentially what that means is they're taking the bones of the Community Food Access Grant Program and the consortium, and the Colorado legislature agreed that it was such a great program that they're going to continue supporting that work, but through a tax credit program. So the department has created some rules around what that tax credit program will look like, how that gets rolled out. There are certain places where the department has authority to make decisions, and there are certain places where the department doesn't have authority to make decisions. So we have our draft of the tax credit rules, and we would love for, I mean, this is open to the public, but you all being really familiar with this program will be really equipped to comment on the layout, the structure of that tax credit program. And for those of you unfamiliar with a rulemaking hearing, it is a pretty formal process, but because it's so formal, it's a really good way to make your voice heard. Of course, you can always feel welcome to share your thoughts and comments about this rule that we've developed, you know, with me over the phone or in a meeting, but sharing your thoughts in a formal rulemaking hearing, carries a little more weight. Your comments go into the record, right? So, consider that as you have time. The rulemaking hearing is on December 15th. I've linked the event page in our agenda. If you can't make it to that hearing, you can also submit a written comment, and that will be included in the record too. So I know we haven't gotten deep into the specifics of the tax credit program because there's so many specifics about the grant program. But are there any questions about the tax credit rulemaking hearing is there a desire to sort of, yeah, kind of like have a little bit more, I mean, of course, once the rule is passed, there will be a lot of support and guidelines and really readable materials similar to our grant guidelines on how to utilize that tax credit program. But yeah, any thoughts about that? Any questions?
What
Marian,
kinds?
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Marian, you're muted.
My apologies. Is the hearing a legislative event, or is it a Colorado Department of Ag event? Or, I mean,
Yeah.
will we be able to dial in, or do we have to go in person? Or, you know, a lot of
Yeah.
times for the hearings, you have to go in person.
Great question. Yeah, so this is outside of this isn't happening at the Capitol with the whole, you know, General
Yeah.
Assembly. This is happening outside of the department or coming from the department, and it will be a virtual rulemaking hearing.
Okay, great. So will we get an invitation, or should we ask you for an invitation, or how will that work?
Yeah, so if you click the link, and I can just drop the link in the chat, but you'll see an event page. There we go, on our website. And you can, on that event page, you can read the rule that we've written. And then you can submit a written comment. You can RSVP and say, I'm interested in coming, and I'm interested in you know, having a verbal making a verbal comment in the hearing, or you can just attend and listen in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Angeli.
I just was wondering what sorts of perspectives or comments do you think would be helpful to the process?
It's a good question. We developed, so yeah, like I was alluding to, there are things that the program team and the department has no authority over, right? We're not the Department of Revenue. There are certain places where we don't have a lot of control over how a tax credit program is rolled out, where we were able to insert a little bit of programmatic authority was in the order in which the tax credits will be awarded. So you know, the rule is kind of a lot of legalese, but if you want to kind of zoom in on that section, that's where the department got to look at, or that's where our program team tried to make a fair stepwise process of, you know, the order in which proposals would be read and awarded. So that's a good place to look at and think critically about and provide feedback.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can we find a copy of the draft rule?
On that event page. So if you click on that event page, there's a few links in the event. So, you know, there's here, I can share my screen so you guys can see. Oh, I don't have screen sharing permission, but
here I'm putting the link to the draft. It's that first blue text that's underlined that goes to this drive link for the draft of the rule. And Mickey, here, I'm sorry that you can't share.
No, it's good. We also have it in Spanish, so the Spanish translation is also linked in blue text, and if you select that, you'll be able to read the rule. Jay, go ahead.
Is a large part of what's in this rule the same stuff that was in the the document that looked like this for the thing we just did?
The
I'm a
grant.
little- Yeah, the grant,
Jay,
because
I'm tracking with you. Yes, a lot of this language is similar to the grant because the legislation requires that the tax credit program uses the same definition of small food retailer, small family farmer, consortium, eligible purchases. So one big difference that the legislation made is that the tax credit will only be for equipment purchases, not operating expenses. So also really helpful thing to think about as outreach and TA contractors, knowing that these same businesses that are eligible for the grant will also be eligible to apply for a tax credit. And if they're a really strong candidate and, you know, there are some costs that are only going to be available to be covered through a grant, and equipment purchases could be covered for the next 7 years through a tax credit. You know, of course, that's a business owner's decision to make, but it's good for all of you to really be aware of, yeah, how to guide them through their decision making, and what their options are. Okay, cool. Okay, great questions about this tax credit program, and I really appreciate you all. Sounds like you guys are going to read that rule, which we really appreciate. So, anything else about the rulemaking hearing? Okay. All right, the last little thing I wanted to mention was, you know, a lot of us live very far away from each other and we don't get the chance to meet up in person often. And I love meeting up in person. And I just wanted to mention that our program team will be at the Colorado Food Summit next week. So yeah, let's, you know, we don't need to do anything super formal, but you know, I'd love to just see you guys in person, say hi. Maybe we could all kind of get together in that Colorado Proud happy hour and just, yeah, be together. So yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to say about that. Next two updates are compliance updates. So these are questions that came up a long time ago that it's taken our compliance team a lot of kind of back and forth to get an answer to us about, but we do have an answer. So to that insurance question, this came up, I think, in our second meeting. What kind of insurance will grantees need to prove in order to receive the award? And so there was a lot of back and forth between the state's small dollar grant award policy and the, you know, federal compliance piece. But with your support just bringing this up as a question, we came to the deliberation that awardees will not need to submit any proof of insurance unless they're using grant awards to purchase a vehicle for which they will need to have that vehicle insured. So that's good news. And we've updated our website to reflect that, as well as the grant guidelines. Any insurance questions? Yes, Jay.
So I had a guy apply for this grant to buy a truck, a delivery truck. And in that case, what type of insurance are you looking for? Is it just regular auto insurance, or is it liability, like general liability, or both?
I think it's just the auto insurance. Amanda, am I wrong about that? They made it pretty clear they just need the vehicle insured.
Yeah, the vehicle needs to be insured. I mean, with most auto insurance, you know, there's a liability component. And so, you know, he should insure it to the standards he needs for his business and provide that proof. And so, I mean, different insurance companies, I think, lay out the options differently, but I mean, essentially, I would say get comprehensive, but he can, I would say if he doesn't have another vehicle that he's insured, like it might be harder to match it to existing fleet, but I would just say if he does have another vehicle, match it to that. But recommending, a level of comprehensive coverage, because then that protects him and any accidents that he gets into.
And I want to make sure that he won't be required to provide proof of insurance until after he has bought the vehicle.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he won't know the VIN or any of that until, he's got it in hand. So,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you all for bringing that up. Any other questions about insurance? Okay. The second clarification that we have from our compliance team is about that collaborative proposal concept. So I think Anjali brought this up in one of our first meetings, the idea of what if a few small food retailers want to pool their max award amount so that they can buy one large piece of equipment and share it. And as great of a concept as that is, it really threw our compliance people for a real loop. And unfortunately, it's just going to be not possible for this grant, unfortunately. And there are a few reasons why. We talked about how the sharing of things and one passing through kind of threatens that beneficiary status of the way we've classified these kinds of awardees, which, we really, for the ease and simplicity of our awardees, we really need to keep them as classified as beneficiaries so that things aren't massively more paperwork heavy, administratively heavy, complex for them. The other piece that was challenging was the procurement standards when purchasing something that's really expensive. So, there are these thresholds, and when you surpass them, there's more procurement rules around what steps need to be, what steps you need to go through before purchasing a big piece of equipment. And that would be really cumbersome for awardees. So unfortunately, this is just it's not a great fit for this grant due to the compliance strings attached to this. So that's a bummer. I think once we get out of the grant realm and into the tax credit realm, we can explore it a bit more. And try to see if there are really good use cases. Ty, unfortunately, not even with the MOU. The MOUs were, the piece that was really complex, just with the compliance piece. So unfortunately, this grant is just, there's just a lot, there were a lot of assumptions made about the structure of this to determine that these guys are beneficiaries, and it kind of elevates their status to a higher level when we get into this like sharing of equipment. And so
I don't understand. You're saying like if somebody wanted a piece of equipment that was $100,000 and they're trying to apply for 50,000 from you guys, like that's sort of like out of range?
No, it's more, and these thresholds they talked about, they kind of threw out different ones for different levels. I think it's really more the sharing piece, and CDA will require a lot more of every single grantee to prove that no one beneficiary is getting more from that large equipment piece than any others. And it just got really complex and a little bit more than we felt that grantees were willing to bite off for what this was.
So this is referring just to people sharing equipment.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I just to jump in, Jay, so with the example of like $100,000 piece of equipment, the beneficiary is only getting a max of 50,000. So it doesn't cross that threshold as far as funds being provided. And so that's what they look at. It's once the department or any federal agency is providing more than that 50,000 that it enters another level of compliance and reporting and paperwork that is not manageable, I think, for this program as a whole. So yeah, they can, if they're putting in their money over 50,000, the sky's the limit.
Any other questions about, Ty, that exact example was one we were using a lot when talking about this with our compliance liaisons, like 3 small farmers sharing a 125K solar cooler. Yeah, it was just the extra hurdles were kind of wild. Or just because, right, like Amanda described, that does surpass this threshold of federal dollars. And then you're all familiar with the procurement process here and the fair and open competition, which is all well and good. These rules are in place to prevent, $125,000 going to, the same company that owns the farm. They're just red flags there. And yeah, that's kind of unfortunately where we're landing with this collaborative proposal idea. Any other questions about the collaborative proposals?
I didn't have that happen, but I do know that there's a farmer co-op out here. I don't think they've applied yet, but a co-op of farmers could apply as like one entity together, and that wouldn't be a problem, right?
The maximum amount would be 50,000 for the co-op, assuming that they meet that eligibility requirement. I mean, I think we might want to just look at the specifics there. So yeah, of course, assuming they meet that eligibility definition, they can apply. But again, it's sort of like, okay, well, $50,000 for that one co-op. Okay. Feel free to bring up any other questions about that. But yeah, now I just wanted to open it up to reflections about round 1 of the grant, and discuss, your experiences, challenges, successes, what we can do collectively together to make round 2 better. And then any refinement or brainstorming about how to, hone in the outreach strategy or the technical assistance strategy. So, I just wanted to kick it off with, we had almost 200 applications with well over 7 million in requests for round 1, which was a huge response. We definitely saw a lot of sort of proposals weighted a little bit disproportionately to places that had an outreach and TA contractor. Not every applicant cited that they had heard about it or received help through an outreach or TA contractor, but many did. So that's exciting. And the evaluation committee is busy reading and scoring all of these proposals, there were a good number that were either ineligible or incomplete. So the total number of applications that were read and scored was about 166. So we did have a good number that didn't submit a budget or applied, as an ineligible business. So, lessons learned there about how we can be a little bit more clearer about, the requirements of what needs to be submitted and how we need to communicate who this grant's for. But yeah, we have a lot of takeaways. The biggest one being a more clear ask for the farmer application about what retail outlet their products will be sold in. So as you all know, the farmer application asked for a similar way to the small food retailer application. What's the food landscape? What are your barriers? What do you need? What are you asking for? What's your proposal? What's been challenging is that a lot of farmers aren't necessarily directly saying where their food, which retailer will be supported. And right, because this grant is focused on expanding retail opportunities to purchase food, it's really hard to evaluate a farm proposal that has great numbers about how their production will be increased, but it's not, we're comparing apples to oranges when we compare that to a retailer that is, that is making a similar case. So what we are proposing for round 2 is to have a direct question, towards the top of the farmer application about which retail outlets will benefit from their proposal, and then also ask for a letter of support from those retailers. Would love your thoughts on those ideas and just general comments. I see Marion has her hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question of the ones who weren't eligible. Do you see a trend? What was the biggest thing that made them ineligible?
So
I'm asking this question from the farming because both Dale and I didn't really understand that we should have been concentrating much more, perhaps only on the retailers, i.e. the stores already in business, which in our case were mostly Hispanic stores. None of those stores have any relationships with any farmers. They don't even know that the farmers don't know they exist. And we did emphasize to them that this grant is supposed to help create those collaborative relationships, but we didn't have enough time to make that happen before they applied.
Right.
So,
right. Time was really tough for this round 1, and wrapping our heads around the ask here and then making that happen out in the field, especially for farmers who don't yet have that relationship. So I would say now is a great time to reconnect with. Oh, Marion, what? I'm sorry.
But the retailers also did not have the relationships. Both sides did not know about each other.
Right.
And but my question really is that overall, when you weren't eligible, what was the biggest category that made them be ineligible?
Right.
They not do that right away, flagged you and said, we can't, out of 200, if you only got 160, whatever, that's quite a few people that just dropped off because they did something that was against the grant. I'd like to know what that is to avoid that in the future.
We could get, once we kind of once the dust has settled a little bit, we are in pretty deep with eval right now, but I do plan to, generate a report with numbers, how many were, I think it was only about, let's see, from 196 down to, gosh, like 178. That was the number of applications that didn't have a budget, were submitted incomplete. So, that's more than we want, but it's also not a huge percentage. There were a number of, food pantries that applied. There were a number of small food retailers that didn't carry all 3 staple foods. Yeah, those general eligibility questions, eliminated some. And then, there were a number of proposals that upon reading them, it was really clear that, okay, this is a farm that's really focused on the charitable food, increasing production for a charitable food space, and they're asking for money for a WIC CSA. That's not the purpose of this grant. That is a great way to expand food access, but it's not within the scope of this grant. So in terms of percentages, Marion, I'd have to do a little bit more analysis before I give you like the biggest one. But that's a sort of a general sense of the types of things that kind of took proposals out of out of consideration.
Well, the reason I'm asking is we probably didn't vet them well enough. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because all of them said the same thing. We don't really have relationships that we would like to have with the retailers.
Yeah.
And we don't really know what those barriers are. It may be a language barrier. It may be the type of food, because Hispanic has a different food market. People eat different things that maybe aren't grown or processed by local farmers. Yet in the future, they may want to expand that and include that. So those are important things to know for the second round, because I don't want to go out and sell the idea to a farmer and then have them fail because, they didn't meet that, whatever that sweet spot is, or having those connections.
Right. I will just say, retailers have, it's easier for retailers to make the case that they're expanding access to retail opportunities because they are retailers, right? Farmers have, a few more steps to make that case, but in round 2, we will be looking for which retailer will be selling this product that you want the grant to increase production of, and then we can kind of compare, okay, this will expand access meaningfully. So in terms of making those connections, that is, that is the work there. But I think it's also up to outreach and TA contractors to focus the direction of outreach on, applicants that will really be successful. I think connections between stores and farmers is, hopefully a product of this work. But, the primary focus is to support those retailers, especially in places that really have limited options for where to purchase food. And, zooming out of like your region, there are definitely some areas of the state that don't yet have a contractor, that have very few retail purchasing options. So just acknowledging that too, that, a farmer in Boulder making connections to a small food retailer in Boulder or, Boulder County, that stands a good chance of being a great application, but it will go into the running with other worthy applications coming from all over the state related to, supporting small
Towards
food
the
retailers.
end, we tried to only focus on the farmers that actually have a retail location.
Yeah.
And it may not be a store, but they have a farm stand
Yeah.
that is a
Marion,
retail aspect of it.
I'm gonna
But
just jump
anyway, I
over.
just want to bring that up.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I mean, I'll just wrap this up by saying, like, I do encourage, your team of, Denver metro area contractors to get together and chat about just general strategy there. Because I think some of your lessons learned could really be, connections made between your other local retailers could be really, really valuable, because I know you did a lot of work speaking with farmers. I just want to jump
Well,
over.
and just to point, go ahead. I just wanted to make one last comment. One of our farms only services the immigrant population in Denver because they grow the food that those folks need and can't get anywhere else. And that to me was another aspect that we did not really understand when we started the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just jump in, like, let's put a pin on this because I think we can talk in terms of consortium too. But I know we want to get to the forward contracting question before Whitney has to jump off.
Okay.
Mickey, do you want to go into that, or do you want me to start? Okay.
So, what I'm understanding with forward contracting is paying farmers upfront for food they will grow. So this grant won't really, because we can't use this grant money for food, it doesn't really fall into that forward contracting bucket.
And I'll just jump in there too. Like, what we're looking for is that establishment of a relationship. We're not looking for a signed contract, that the farmer has with a retailer. Forward contracting tends to involve set prices that won't fluctuate. That we don't need to know that. The intent is that, the farmer's providing food to the retailer is able to sell it, and increase that access in their community, hopefully at a discounted price, but we're not holding people accountable to set prices. So it just doesn't fall into a forward contracting role. It's an establishment of a relationship and expansion of that retail sales opportunity. So Ty, if you want to follow up more, please do. If Whitney, if there's more specifics around that, we're happy to try to answer that.
I'm also seeing Ty's question about priority for next round. If they forgot a budget or missing something. This is kind of tough. We really didn't even read applications that didn't come in with a budget. So, I think the leg up some might have is, and we're going to talk more about this in our next meeting, is what can you all expect in the aftermath of round one with all of the applicants who either applied and were awarded or applied and weren't awarded, for supporting both those applicant types. So we're still talking with compliance about what kind of feedback is, how the department can share feedback in a fair way. But we're considering a lot of ideas. I think one that sounds really appealing is in an email that says, unfortunately, you didn't receive an award. There's sort of like a short line as to why. And if it was like, incomplete application, no budget submitted, or, a quick sort of, this is why, and then invite those folks to attend an information session where we will go through each one of those reasons why it wasn't awarded, so folks can hear like a general rationale and understand, okay, well, if this is why my proposal wasn't awarded, can I pivot a little? Do I need to work on something? Do I just need to remember to submit that budget? Or is this grant really not in line with my business and what I plan to do, and go from there. So that's an idea we are workshopping right now. We need the green light, obviously, from our compliance team. But, you all are here on the ground to help us support those businesses that, applied, maybe were really good fits, but just need a little support with, filling out and answering directly to a specific question. So we'll talk a lot more in depth about that at our next meeting. But yeah, that's something on the horizon there. Okay. Yes, and we'll definitely report back on which farming proposals received a grant and like how they were structured, what kind of case they made, what kind of niche they were filling in their community. Yeah, answer questions there so you all know how to serve farmers better. Yes, again, I'm planning, once we kind of have finished this evaluation process, which yeah, took a long time because we got a lot of applications. We'll have sort of a more complete analysis, and then give all of you feedback specific to your regions. Thanks, Angeli, and Whitney, I think, who had to jump off soon. Let's see. So yeah, Jay, go ahead.
I just want to reiterate or like clarify for myself that farmers who would likely be eligible have their own farm stand, are selling like directly to consumers, or they go to the farmers market primarily and are selling to people, or they perhaps run a CSA, that sort of stuff. But if they are selling to restaurants, that's not really the thing. If they're selling to a food hub, they don't really qualify. I mean, unless we can determine who the food hub is selling to, but and if they're selling to any bigger aggregator, like that's probably off the table. I'm just trying to think of what other farmers, what other places farmers sell to and focus on this group that would be eligible, and and then like thinking about ranchers selling whole cows. I think that would work, selling whole cows.
We got a lot of good applications along those lines. If the farmer is selling directly to a little store, that would be eligible too. But like that link between, I'm a farmer that sells to this store and this region has low access to a healthy food that seems to be defined by the community, not by me and what I grow, right? This is a community informed definition of healthy food. And the reason why, like this store's limiting reagent here in this whole calculation is that I don't have the capacity to grow more product for them. That's a great case for, let's support your expanded production and your extended season or whatever it is that's limiting your ability to supply to that store. But we kind of need that store, that buy-in from the store and that validation from the store saying, this is the reason why we have limited supply, because our farmer or our supplier doesn't have enough of it, which is really the case in a lot of places that have limited distribution lines. The distributors just really won't come all the way out there, and so they're relying on more local suppliers. So
and can I jump in here too? Okay. So Jay, something else, like since you brought up the farm stand piece, because we've definitely seen a lot of those applications, something that would be compelling with a farm stand, especially because they don't have always consistent hours, and especially not hours that are going to be accessible to someone who's working, a 10-hour day, or, sort of those working 9 to 5, 9 to 6 hours, or earlier or later. but if they are, if they're a farm stand in a place that doesn't have a grocery store, right, for 20 plus miles, like that is a great case. If they are in a community that has grocery stores, they really need to show that they're going to be consistent, with someone who really has limited access to go stop at a farm stand when there's grocery stores, especially like a Safeway, a big chain that's nearby, because you're then changing someone's habits. And we know that yes, this is a big goal to expand local food production and access, but the primary is truly like access to more healthy food in the ways that they are accessing food currently. And so, yes, it's great, expanding some of the local agriculture, but there might be more of those opportunities in the tax credit than in this grant, especially since we're seeing so much competitiveness, and in so many communities that truly just don't have options, right? So we're trying to hone in on the realistic options that people will have. So just to say that, I don't want you to think that, and you'll see what ends up rising to the surface in these farmer applications. And it will be those ones that are a farm stand where there is no grocery store, as opposed to a farm stand, in the metro area when there's a bazillion grocery stores. So,
yeah,
hope that helps.
And, just thinking about Marion's, like the network that you've been making or that you have with these farmers in, like the access, the limiting access piece isn't necessarily, there are a few grocery stores. It's more of sort of like a cost barrier, right? Or a transportation barrier. Those farms will really need to do a really good job of outlining what kind of connection they already have, or how they'll make that connection with a low-income, low-access population. Because, it's a different picture in, Longmont and Boulder and Lafayette. But go ahead, Marion.
Sorry, I was muted. I just want to have a better clarification, because most of our Hispanic stores buy from big distributors. So they're not buying organic, they're not buying locally processed meat. So where does the healthy food part come in, which is so important to improving the health of our communities, regardless of where they are located?
Well, that's where we kind of turn to the community to tell us what healthy foods are in limited supply. How is the community defining healthy food that they want and need access to that they don't already have? So that's why we left that healthy food definition so broad, so that it could accommodate different definitions of what healthy means. And the most important thing is that the community that is suffering these disparities is able to have easier access to healthy food they want and need. So that's another lens the evaluation committee is looking through, is does this definition of healthy food seem to be community informed, or is it kind of more informed by a business owner that's not of that community?
I think this is a super important question.
Mm-hmm.
I even go so far, and I know we're not including food banks or food distributors to the really needy, but they don't get healthy foods. They get things they don't really want to eat even. They just get food, period. And I think this has to be recognized by the Department of Agriculture. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's not that it seems probably that I'm biased for farmers, but I'm really biased for good food. And that is not what's happening. And I mean, I can even see it because I've never been to a lot of these retailers because I don't eat, the foods that Mexicans prefer to eat because most of our retailers were Hispanic, a few were of other origins, but it's important to note that they buy from big distributors. So it doesn't really help the local food economy. And I think we need to recognize that. That's all.
Right. Yeah, and that's a fair point, Marion. I do just want to emphasize that supporting the local food economy is part of this program, but it is a secondary goal to expanding access to healthy food as defined by the community that, that's experiencing hunger. So, it's really challenging to juggle both those goals, and ultimately one goal has to be the primary one, and another goal has to be secondary. So yeah, the evaluation committee is prioritizing that access to healthy food over supporting the local food infrastructure system in the grant. We do have this other way to support, value chain coordination, connecting retailers to farmers, purchasing more local food, more local fresh food. But for the purpose of this grant, it is really focused on that increased access piece. So I'm just going to read Jay's comment here. Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I'll just, I mean, just to circle back, Marianne, to what I wanted to say with the consortium and, the opportunities that we have with the consortium to create more of that value chain coordination, and really try to develop those relationships, and expand that local food economy. I mean, it's the pro and the con, of how this program was designed in legislation. The pro being that they did think about this, the con, like that relationships and value chain coordination was going to be important, and that we have the consortium as the tool to help elevate that. But with the grant, this is focused on people who were impacted by COVID in a retail, business setting. And the grant is so much more specific in that. And we're working, we're trying to combine both goals, but that is, that business and retail opportunity, for expanding access is the primary for the grant. And, it is hard to sort of, like, as you're seeing, to develop those relationships in this short time frame of when we have to get the money out, like, have the grant application open and get this money out. But we are, 100% in support of developing those relationships. It's just, they take time. And so we're going to be able to utilize the consortium as that tool to continue to develop those relationships. And the work that you all are doing is part of that, like relationships take time to build. And just the fact of you recognizing, that you have these stores in your community who need more access, who need to be connected to farmers, that's huge. You're putting that word out there. That's going to continue to, we're going to be able to build off of that to continue these relationships and strengthen that.
Well, that's super, because we actually told our retailers when we shifted away from the farms that you will be required, not required meaning it's not a law, but you will need to improve your relationship with the local farmer. And they all agree they want to. So that's where I think someone like us, right, as an intermediary to help those relationships get off the ground is super important. So whether or not that's an objective of the grant, if you really want the grant to be successful, even in places where there is no access, you have to help create those relationships, or it's just they get the money and then that's the end of it. And I often see that happen in many, many grants. I mean, that's why I was excited to work on this, because of the relationship building opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And luckily we do have time for that. The consortium will extend beyond it, in the years beyond this grant. But yeah, I wanted to turn to Jay's question. What about farmers who give food away, not through a food bank or food pantry, but just set up a kiosk and give it away? so technically, you know, if it's free food distributed, that is the charitable food space, and that is outside of the scope of this grant. We know that a lot of proposals came through from farm stands that have a kind of like an honor system payment. We also have farm stands that have a sliding scale. So I'm not sure if that helps at all, Jay, but yeah, this is focused on retail opportunities, but yeah, is that?
Well, so if they had a sliding scale, does that qualify then?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I know there's so many gray areas here, but yeah, technically if it's a place where you can go and buy food, that's a retail food situation. So feel free to keep the questions coming. Yeah, awesome, Erica. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, to Erica's point, you know, I think of this as this is a huge problem. Food systems issues, food access issues, food justice issues, and there need to be a number of different programs that come in from this education angle, from the charitable food space angle. And this program is kind of unique in that it's supporting, yeah, hopefully a sustainable, you know, businesses sustainably expanding access and increasing opportunities. So that's helpful. That's helpful to kind of frame the goals here. And Erica, feel free to jump in if you have any other things you want to say about charity versus justice. But yeah, next meeting, as I mentioned, we'll have a lot. Well, hopefully we will be totally done with the evaluation and selection process. There may be kind of a round of clarification questions that we go through with some applicants who seem like a really good fit, but we just need to clarify something before granting the award. But we'll be talking at our next meeting about what contractors can do to support new grantees, what to expect from what to expect from feedback for grantees that were not, or applications that were not awarded, and how to support those guys. And then between now and round 2, it's a great time to meet with your whole regional team and discuss any refinement to an outreach strategy that will result in more successful applications, or the word getting to the right kind of businesses. And obviously we are always available to answer questions as needed. And I hope to be sending you soon a report of, what happened in your region for round 1, who was successful for round 1, where are there still opportunities for round 2. And our goal is still to launch round 2 in late January, early February, keep it open and through February and March, and close it in the beginning of April. So we'll hopefully keep to that timeline, unless one thing that might push this back is if the selection process for round 1 is drawn out anymore. So that's what you can expect from us going forward. Other than that, those were all of my updates. So happy to hang on and keep chatting with folks who want to keep discussing. And Blaze, I know that you're just jumping right into this, and a lot of this might be out of context, but excited to get together one-on-one and talk through the specific plan for the Southeast region.
Yeah, thanks so much. I didn't realize well, I knew the application cycle would close, but then, seeing that December 31st was the like quarter reporting date, I was like, whoa, there's a little bit of catching up to do here.
Yeah, but right, it's all kind of like post signing of contract to that quarterly time, so we're not necessarily expecting you to have covered your entire region in that time. So don't sweat it.
Cool.
Any other comments, questions? Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Well, I know you're recording this, and will it be put in that document with all the other recordings? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
thanks.
I'm planning to put everything in there so you guys can reference back, whenever you need to.
Also, I'm wondering, I'm going to type what was most relevant to us up and send it to my contractors or, people helping me with this. But I almost would really love to see, and I know I keep asking you for all these things, but like on your website, a little thing that's like small farmers who qualify, sell to, in a column of like, this is who they can sell to, and a column of this is not it. You know what I mean? Like a yes, no, because the farmer thing, I really hate to waste farmers' time. And so many don't qualify actually, is I'm coming across. And so I don't know, just a little more clarification on which farmers are eligible and which aren't in that grant guideline PDF and right on the site would be really helpful. And maybe even updating the flyer that you guys have.
Yeah. That echoes what so Lauren from Southwest requested something. She was like, could you guys have a decision tree on your website so that folks can kind of follow that? So what would be kind of great would be if we could kind of workshop that together, because I'm sure you all will have ideas about how to just like circumstances that are coming up where you say, okay, like probably not worth your time. We do have to be careful about what CDA puts on our website. Like if we can't say don't apply, if you do meet that legislative definition. So, we've got to be careful about, how we frame that. But I think we could certainly work on something that, offers a little more clarity so people can, decide if it's worth their time. And make sure that, I think it's very easy to kind of think you're on the right track with this and then realize, oh, this is focusing on something totally different than what I'm thinking of food access to mean. So I think maybe I'll get a draft started and maybe we could just kind of workshop it in the Google Drive. You guys can just sort of like add circumstances or thoughts or comments. That sound like a good plan? And then we'll use something that we like and get it on the website.
Are we having another meeting next month, December?
Yes. Yeah. I got to remember the exact date. I think it was funny. I had everybody fill out that doodle indicating their best, time of the month to meet. And then because of Thanksgiving holiday and then, the Christmas holidays, we actually weren't meeting on those times for those first 2 months. But then for the next year, we'll get into our regular, I think it was like the 4th Wednesday of the month at this time. So I did send an invitation to all of the contractors. So just reach out to the contractor that you're working with if you're a subcontractor, if you didn't get that invitation.
Okay, the 4th Wednesday, doesn't that fall right into the Christmas?
Yeah, so like I said, it's not we didn't follow that fourth Wednesday rule
Oh,
for
okay.
November, December. Yeah.
So you're gonna have that before, and
Yeah.
you'll have a better understanding of when are you still planning on the awards coming out at the end of the year? Or should we
Yes.
alert them to wait, that they're gonna have to wait till 2024 to hear?
We're aiming for the end of the year.
Okay.
Cool. Any other thoughts coming up with the remaining time we have?
Will we be notified of who was awarded and who wasn't, especially if like our name was on the application?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jay, because, you know, and right off the bat, we were like, okay, yeah, everybody who was awarded in this region where we have a contractor, we should CC the contractor, you know, to help them along. But, you know, for some businesses that weren't in touch with any outreach and TA contractor, you know, we probably won't just like CC a person they've never met before, right? But we do plan to, I mean, once the awards are out, you know, it's public information who is awarded through CDA. So we can make those names visible. And then, yeah, again, we still need to kind of like get a little bit of clarity from our compliance team about, yeah, like how feedback can be given and what represents like an unfair advantage for some applicants versus others. We're seeing a lot of variety in how different grant programs with multiple rounds of grants give feedback to people that applied in a first round. So we just want to be sure we're, you know, compliant and above board there. But, you know, we definitely plan to be connecting you with businesses after the award announcement. We just don't know the exact format.
And will you have it all posted on your site who was an awardee?
Yeah, we plan to do that. I'm not sure if that will happen like immediately.
Just
right?
so if there were people in my region that I didn't contact that already got the award, I don't want to bug them about it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can reach out to them to say, let me know if you need help submitting the documentation that's required, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, we'll guide you through that in the San Luis Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for these good questions.
If you're going to be at the food systems, will you try to get us all connected prior to that day? Because, you know, I don't know how to find everyone that's on the call today or beyond.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I'm not sure exactly who will be there. But yeah, let's maybe, if you're going to be there, email me and I'll try to coordinate a time for us all to meet. Maybe it's just in the first hour or first 30 minutes of the Colorado Proud Happy Hour. I also don't, you know, I know everybody, there's a lot of objectives, especially for folks coming from distant corners of the state. And you want to do your networking and make your connections. And I know you have a lot of other projects going on besides community food access, but yeah, I would love to just meet some of you in person for the first time. So. Okay. Well, if there are no other comments, questions, feel free to, jump off, hang around. Yeah, really appreciate you all being here. And again, let me know if you've got any questions coming up about invoicing, filling out that report. Yeah, what to expect for round 2.
Thanks.
Just one last question. When is the cocktail party for Colorado Proud? Because I'm not going to both days, so.
Yeah, I think it's right after the event.
On the first day?
On the second day, the 8th.
8th? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Hallie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. Bye-bye.